Alright, what's going on everybody? So this is my review for Call of Duty Black Ops 4 PC Beta. Specifically the PC Beta because my review of the console version would be rather different. Before I get into the actual review, let me preface by saying this because I do think it's relevant. I have never, well let me not say never, I was never a fan of the modern Call of Duty games, which means Call of Duty starting from Modern Warfare 1. That's when most of these, new generation gamers actually started playing Call of Duty, was in Modern Warfare. I actually played the Call of Duties before that. That's when I loved them, right? So I was never a fan of the modern ones, right? I enjoyed the single player, but I never really liked the multiplayer, right? Most people would say Call of Duty was the epitome of what a shooter should be and feel like. And I always disagreed with that sentiment. I never agreed. And that was when my opinion was extremely unpopular, when I used to tell people, back in, Call of Duty's heyday, when it was at the top, when I tell people I didn't like Call of Duty, they thought I was insane, right? So I'm not one of these people who just got on the bandwagon of suddenly they don't like Call of Duty. No, I've never liked Call of Duty since back 2007. I've never really felt like it was a great shooter, right? And probably the main reason of that is, there's several reasons. Call of Duty inherently had a lot of issues, but one of the biggest reasons is I felt that the game was never accurate with a controller, right? I think that's an unpopular opinion. Also, a lot of people who played on console said it. They felt like it was extremely very reactive with controller and very accurate with controller. And I know some people, like I posted on Twitter and said, I'm really enjoying this game on PC. A lot of people would say, well, of course, it's a first-person shooter. Of course, it's going to be better on PC. That is not the case because I have played I played several other of the previous Call of Duty games on PC, and they didn't feel good. They didn't feel like one-to-one accurate shooting with my mouse. They weren't, I guess you can say they were not good PC ports, right? So it wasn't always the case of, generally a first-person shooter is going to be better with mouse and keyboard on PC. Generally, yeah. But that's not always 100% of the case. And Call of Duty was actually the only first-person shooter that I actually ever had a problem playing with a controller. Every other first-person shooter I've ever played, I was still fine with it on controller. But I don't know, they've seemed to do, given this beta, its rightful justice and its due diligence of a proper PC port, and the mouse feels so smooth, it feels accurate, it just feels perfect. That's the only way I can describe it. It just feels so good to use mouse and keyboard with this. And I know in the options, I can't remember the exact name of the option, but they had two choices for. They had a lot of mouse options in the settings, but one was like legacy, and there was another setting of how you wanted your mouse to react. They might have fixed the mouse acceleration, got the sensitivity a little bit more refined. Whatever they did, they fixed the mouse because it was definitely a problem with the previous Call of Duties and how the mouse performed. So I think that's probably the main reason why I'm actually enjoying this Call of Duty. So when I was playing on console, no, I wasn't actually enjoying this game at all. And yes, typically PC makes a good game better, but it's not going to make a game you're not enjoying at all. Typically, in most cases, you're not going to suddenly enjoy it on PC if you didn't enjoy it on another platform, right? PC typically doesn't make trash games great. They make good games better. So I just wanted to preface by saying that. So yeah, I haven't played every Call of Duty PC version, but I would, if I had to go out on a limb, I would say this is probably the best, PC Call of Duty PC port. And this one is this the first one on Battle.net? Because, like I said, never really been a fan, so I don't keep up with all the details. But according to my memory, this is the first Call of Duty on Battle.net. And a lot of the previous Call of Duties, even on the PC, they weren't on dedicated servers. This one is on dedicated servers, I believe. And so I don't get those situations where I feel like I started shooting way before somebody, but somehow, they get the drop on me, and the kill cam shows they started shooting before me. I didn't come across those situations. So that made for also a better experience for me. Just getting to a few other, general details about the game that everybody typically knows. They brought back operatives in this game. So all of these operatives have special abilities, unique to them. There's score streaks, of course, so that's, even though I do feel like this is probably, a better Call of Duty game, you're still gonna have your bullshit, because I'm not someone who's really a fan of things like score streaks. I'm super old school, so I don't even like maps in multiplayer games. Right? That's the generation I came from, where there weren't like, and if there were maps didn't act like how they do in current shooters. Right? They didn't give you all this detail of where enemies were, and it wasn't a detailed map that was meant to kind of help you know where the enemy is. It was just a map to help you know where you were in relation to the entire map. So even that type of stuff bothers me. Like I said, I never really like score streaks and stuff like that. I've never really been a fan of games that put too many special abilities. I think of them as crutches. If it's super balanced, then okay, I can make an exception. And if the game has other redeeming qualities, even though it has this bullshit crutches, I can still make an exception for that also. So of course it has those. There's a lot of customization on your guns, your optics, your attachments. The game has more health, right? And the game has more health in general, and you have to manually heal yourself, which I think is a great change to the game. One, because I've always felt like Call of Duty, which is one of my other problems, was more about who shot first, who sees who first. But it's not really about that anymore, right? You can get shot first and still turn it around and win the gunfight, because it's not about who shoots who first and who lands the first two hits, right? It's a lot of times it's been like that in the past, but there's been many times I've been shot first and I've just like did a quick turnaround and end up winning the gunfight. So I like that. It's about who can maintain accuracy over time, who is going to win the gunfight, not who shoots first. And you have to heal yourself, which it I don't like to use the word tactical or strategic with Call of Duty. That seems a little bit blasphemous, but it does add a small tidbit layer of slowdown and strategies that you have to manage your health. Even though healing is pretty fast, and it might actually it's actually faster than waiting for your health to degenerate, but it leaves you vulnerable. Healing leaves you vulnerable. So that's the thing about it. It takes about maybe 2.5 seconds to do, but that's a lot of time in a fast-paced game like Call of Duty. You can still quick scope. I'm sure you saw I got quick scope a few times in this match, which is really annoying. I just disagree that a sniper should be able to just run, jump around, and like shoot in that manner. It's bullshit. But they kept that in the game for obvious reasons. There's a fan of people who like playing like that. And overall, the PC version runs really smooth. I'm on I have a 1080. And Call of Duty, it's Call of Duty. Nobody expects it to be super demanding or anything like that. Even though I do believe the requirements for the game were rather high for a Call of Duty game. I was playing at 1440p. It's of course it's 60, and I was getting I had the frame rate unlocked and limited, so I was getting about 80 frames at 1440p. So the game runs really smooth. As far as the visuals, listen, it's nowhere near the worst looking Call of Duty. Call of Duty kind of has this visual style of quality where it kind of just it slightly improves, like maybe every generation. Sometimes it goes back, depends on the developer, but sometimes it just coasts along. There's never like this huge jump in graphical fidelity in Call of Duty. But this is not the worst looking one. It looks pretty decent. It looks pretty sharp, especially on PC. And I was running at 1440p high. I didn't have it on ultra. I had it on high. It was going like over 80 frames. So yeah, and to conclude, I'm enjoying this Call of Duty game. Like I said, I've never really been a fan like that. Anybody who knows me, I don't give Call of Duty the credit or the time of day. But I actually do want to play this, day one on PC. So Those are my impressions. Let me know what y'all think. I'm out of here.